Well, this morning, Tucker Carlson released I don't know, I guess I would call it a mini documentary or an investigative piece that really shows Tucker Carlson at his best. Now, I don't have any issue with a lot of the weird infighting stuff with Tucker, like, man, he's interviewing this guy or that guy. I just feel like a bunch of his topics recently haven't been very interesting to me. But when he has a topic that's interesting to me, I get after it, I watch it, I enjoy it. And this morning, I don't know if he released it last night or I just saw it this morning, he released some pretty convincing evidence that the FBI is covering for Thomas Matthew Crooks and that potentially he was actually groomed into becoming an assassin. We have been told by the FBI, including the current administration, that the man had no digital online footprint. Tucker Carlson disproves that. Not only does he disprove that, but he proves that essentially the Coof broke this guy. And he then had a mysterious interaction with at least one person and then disappeared from the internet entirely shortly after attempting to take Donald Trump's life, taking the life of Corey Comprator, and subsequently being erased from the internet. There's a couple of really, really interesting aspects of this deep dive I want to share with you. I want to let you guys know too, I forgot I had these for Christmas. I have these Trump meme cookbooks. The Mega Mixology Group book has got like tons of hilarious recipes in it that you can make non-alcoholic or alcoholic drinks. Each one's a meme in its own right. And our Christmas cookbook, these are all shipping in December. So the website, I don't know why it says it, but the front of the cookbook says 2024, but the cookbook itself does not have the date on it. So if you want to check that out, they're shipping in December. I've got like 400 left. So thequartering.com/shop, link in the description below to pick up your Christmas gifts. You can get even the original one we did, and then we have a bundle of all three. And so, yeah. Thomas Crooks report. Crooks changed dramatically after the lockdowns. According to Tucker Carlson's report, Crooks left social media after threatening to take out Ilhan Omar in July 2019. He referred to Omar as an invader and said her body should be sent back to her country. In early 2020, coincidentally, Crooks changed his entire view. He began advocating for lockdown restrictions over Americans' personal rights. He went after Republicans for claiming mail-in voting would lead to fraudulent activity. He went after the term deep state. He later started threatening to commit terrible acts. When another YouTuber began commenting named Willie Tepes and began encouraging Crooks' behavior, Tucker claims the person using the handle Willie Tepes, a YouTube account, appears to be affiliated with a foreign Antifa group. We don't know if it's the same person. We just know that it's the same name. How did the federal government not see his threats to elected officials on YouTube? The FBI never told us that his political views changed. Last we heard, he was a radical right-winger. Yeah, I mean, there's several points of Tucker's investigation that I want to share with you. Because, we were told essentially that, Thomas Crooks was a Trump supporter and that he was a patriot. And even Dan Bongino told us that there is no quote unquote there, that he was simply a lone wolf shooter, except the evidence would seem that that is not the case. Multiple FBI agents practicing at the exact gun range where Thomas Matthew Crooks trained. Did any of them know him? I mean, it could just be a coincidence, but they've never actually addressed this. They never actually addressed the fact that he, in fact, was not a right-winger anymore. They told us. Here's a couple of the big takeaways. First of all, the FBI told us, including this current administration, meaning Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, that Thomas Matthew Crooks had zero online footprint. Remember that? They told us that there is no history, except that was a lie. And Tucker Carlson revealed he had, in fact, an extensive online footprint, which include
here's what we do.
LinkedIn profiles, YouTube accounts, Discord accounts, all of this stuff tied to his phone number and his home.
The digital comments we obtained were posted between 2019 and 2020, when Thomas Crooks was between 15 and 17 years old. They show two things. First, that Thomas Crooks was not some secretive lone wolf who never warned anyone that he was planning violence. Just the opposite. Years before he showed up in Butler, Crooks was leaving a detailed digital trail of violent threats, including calls for assassinations and political violence.
Now, wait a minute. I was told that he was just a lone wolf. Just a lone wolf shooter that, you know, happened to be in a BlackRock commercial. Now, again, the fact that he was seemingly encouraged by this YouTube user and then never really commented online again, that doesn't actually mean that this YouTube user, you know, made any kind of outside contact. It could be just a coincidence. But there were many comments that show, in fact, that he had become far left-wing in 2020.
Second, they show a man who started out as a radical Trump supporter, whose views on the president changed completely during COVID. The FBI lied about that fact.
Correct, they did. You can hate Tucker, you can love Tucker, you can think this is, circumstantial, you could think it's not important, but it does prove that the FBI lied to us. That Dan Bongino and Kash Patel lied to us. In fact, the FBI created an account to attack Tucker Carlson last night. The FBI wakes up today to be epically owned by Community Notes. The FBI rapid response said that the FBI never said Thomas Crooks had no online footprint ever. That's not true. I remember that specifically happening. In fact, Community Notes says, in a July 30th, 2024 Senate hearing, FBI Deputy Director Paul Abate, disclosed a social media account believed to be associated with the shooter. Abate then went on to describe a, quote, general absence of any other information to date from social media.
And importantly, that his digital footprint is completely MIA, that his digital footprint is missing. And that how can a 20-year-old in today's time have no digital footprint? So do you have any thoughts on that, any comments on that? And that'll be my last question.
Well, 4 years of doing protective intelligence investigations with the Secret Service, interviewed probably hundreds of people who have credibly threatened our protectees. I've never seen anything like it. If you would have told me it was a 60-year-old guy who had lived most of his life without a computer and for the last 10 years had been planning this, hard to believe but digestible. You're telling me a 20-year-old kid who's grown up in the digital era figured this out when he was, 13? To never get an online presence? We've seen...
Whoops. Ba ba da ba da ba da ba da 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 boom. Da 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 da.
We're now 6 weeks in. There's not a Facebook photo. You know, it's incredible. We know every single thing about these shooting incidents when there's a political narrative to be had by the media and the other side. We do.
They absolutely did say and repeated multiple times that this kid had no online footprint, which is simply wrong.
And pretended that Crooks was a right-winger. At 11:35 p.m. on July 19th, 2019, in response to an MSNBC video, Crooks wrote, quote, Ilhan Omar and others are invaders and should honestly be killed and their dead bodies sent back. At 1:17 a.m.
By the way, these comments would have been flagged by YouTube, almost certainly. I guess I can't know for sure if these were or not, but it's pretty clear to me that these would have been flagged by YouTube.
On July 20th, 2019, Crooks commented on a CNN video. He said Donald Trump was the literal definition of patriotism. 7 hours later, he commented on an MSNBC video. He wrote, I hope a quick, painful death.
How do we know that these were his comments? Because the account was forensically linked to Thomas Matthew Crooks's phone, and photographs and videos obtained from that same account's Google Drive account, metadata listed the latitude and longitude of Thomas Matthew Crooks's parents' home. So the videos found on the same account's Google Drive were filmed in Thomas Matthew Crooks's parents' home.
to all the deplorable immigrants and anti-Trump congresswomen who don't deserve anything this country has given them. That evening, on a separate MSNBC video, he wrote, quote, "Every one of the Trump-hating Democrats deserve to have their heads chopped off and put on stakes for the world to see what happens when you fuck with America." These sorts of comments continued for months and became increasingly violent.
But wait until the lockdowns.
The following day, Crooks responded to a CBS Evening News video about the squad saying this, quote, "So much simpler." Crooks responded saying, "Cops can't arrest me if they're all dead," before adding, "Even an untrained man with an AR-15 is dangerous. You think Adam Lanza or any school shooter trained? Nope."
Interesting.
If you navigate to that YouTube page today, you can still see identical contextual.
That Bongino clip was him testifying before Congress. But the point of the clip is to reinforce or to prove that the FBI did in fact say that this kid had no online footprint. And many people, it was widely reported.
Actual comments and people referring to Thomas Crooks, including one user who wrote this, "You were on YouTube threatening to shoot government officials. I sure hope the FBI is monitoring social media for violent nutcases." That exchange is still available on Internet Archive websites. But the FBI didn't see that before the shooting?
Look who's feeling better.
That's hard to believe.
It's
on various occasions, Crooks openly said things like, Mueller should be hanged along with the rest of the Democrats involved in that witch hunt. And
now let's fast forward to the lockdowns. Now, they told us he was a right winger, but they conveniently forgot out dozens of posts after the lockdowns where he clearly turned on Trump.
Up a bunch of socialist Jews, like the ones who booed Trump, and blasting their useless brains out with an AR. And yet, in early 2020, Crooks seemed to change radically. On January 23rd of that year, he referred to, quote, Trump's stupidity.
He
began to mock the concept of the deep state. He suggested it was a code word used by Trump supporters for, quote, anyone who disagrees with the right wing. Suddenly, he sounded like an MSNBC commentator.
What a quick change. It's almost like somebody got to him.
February of 2020, he called out Trump supporters as, quote, too brainwashed to realize how dumb you are. I mean, literally, you guys sound like a cult at times.
So at this point, he's very clearly not a Trump supporter.
Same day, he called Trump and his supporters, quote, racist. It was an amazing transformation. That April, during the peak phase of the coronavirus lockdowns, Crooks wrote, quote, it seems that you people don't understand that sometimes public safety comes before your personal rights.
Oops. He turned into a far leftist.
Are you not willing to quarantine one member of your family to save the rest? If so, you are not a patriot, and you aren't protecting anything. Issued what sounds a lot like a digital manifesto. Quote,
here at IMO, the only way to fight the government is with terror-style attacks, bombs into, essential buildings, set it off, tracked. I mean, he's very clearly been radicalized
the only
here.
Way to
He's very clearly been radicalized. He basically left a manifesto. Then we bring in this Willie Tepes guy, which again could be totally random. Okay, we don't know that this Willie Tepes guy is in fact the same guy linked with Antifa. Could just be completely random.
Then authority obviously comes from the barrel of a gun. We have more guns than they do. This is
question about Matthew.
Shoot. This is
further to the workings of Crooks's YouTube commenting. At that point, a new character emerged into the conversation. A user named Willie Tepes, who started pressuring Crooks to commit violence. For example, quote, if a gun and a badge is all that is needed, then authority obviously comes from the barrel of a gun. We have more guns than they do. There is no way we can avoid a war at this point, so you better just get used to the idea. We have nothing to lose and everything to win. And the alternative, a global police state, is unacceptable. Nothing in life is simple, but that is no argument against doing it. So who is this Willie Tepes? Unfortunately, we don't know. The FBI hasn't made any mention of him in public, although they certainly know he exists. Just days after the shooting, somebody screenshotted Tepes' YouTube account page, despite the fact he had very few followers. To the extent
I wonder why that is. And also, by the way, to clarify, that clip of Bongino was before he was with the FBI. But to be clear, Dan Bongino is responding to the FBI narrative that there was no digital footprint.
Anthony can be traced online now. You can find his username being used on a foreign Antifa website. Those sites link him to the Nordic Resistance Movement, which has been designated a terrorist group by the U.S. State Department. That's all we know.
Isn't that interesting? I'm going to guess that this Willie Tepes, in just my opinion, probably a Fed, probably got him to take the conversation offline somewhere and radicalized him into doing what he did. This is probably the most important work. You see Josh Walkos too. After reviewing Tucker Carlson's recent investigation into Thomas Crooks, I believe the evidence suggests he was recruited by a third party, likely an individual or agency, and then allowed to attempt an assassination on Trump. Thomas Crooks attempts to take out Trump on July 13th. The FBI claims Crooks acted alone and had no online presence or digital footprint. The FBI described Crooks as a right-winger based on over 700 YouTube comments from 2019 to 2020 that included anti-Semitic and anti-immigration themes. Investigators obtained and verified hundreds of Crooks' YouTube comments from his account, Tom Crooks 2178, showing that he was highly active online, in fact. He searched for Trump over 700 times on YouTube, along with terms like Jack Ruby, mass events, chemical reactions, napalm, Molotov cocktails, civil war, Nazi-related terms, and why gays need to go. But by the COOF period, Crooks shifted to criticizing Trump. He interacted with a user named Willie Tepes, who is linked to the Nordic Resistance Movement. If that's the same person, we don't know that. Crooks had multiple online accounts, including Gmail, American Gamer GMX, Snapchat, Venmo, PayPal, Discord, Google Play, Quizlet, Chess.com, and 2 disabled Quora accounts, many of which using his real names. Some of Crooks' accounts were deactivated or possibly cleared by the FBI. I mean, this is Las Vegas all over again. Excellent work to Tucker Carlson, and I hope this forces the FBI into giving us some more answers immediately.